Price of Flowers by Prabhat Kumar Mukhopadhyay. Bonds of Relationship. The story of The Price of Flowers, written by Prabhat Kumar Mukhopadhyay, narrates the story of human relationship. The bonds of human relationship are so complex to explain. Words and deeds have a soothing effect. This story is about the impact of words and how they cement the bonds of relationship. Alice Margaret Clifford, or Maggie, was a 13-year-old young English girl. She had a poor background and lived in Lambeth, a poor neighborhood. She worked as a typist in a civil service store. She had to look after her mother as her only brother Frank was posted in Indian Army at the Punjab frontier. Anxious and worried, Maggie and her mother, Mrs. Clifford, were worried as they had not received a letter from Frank for a long time. Mrs. Clifford was afraid that something had happened to him. They had many misunderstandings about India. They were eagerly waiting to find an Indian to ask about these things. They thought that India was a land of tigers, snakes, and fevers. It was a dangerous place to live. Many Indians were yogis and had occult powers. Indians could predict future by crystal gazing. Mrs. Clifford was an old widower. She made hot cakes on Saturdays to sell them in Saturday market. Saturday was the wages day and the poor were able to spend a little on this day. Crystal gazing. Mrs. Clifford urged Mr. Gupta to gaze at the crystal ring sent by Frank to Maggie on her birthday. Frank told them that the ring had miraculous powers. She believed that as Mr. Gupta was an Indian, he could be able to see Frank by gazing at the ring. Mr. Gupta realized that the ring was just a piece of ordinary glass with no magical power, and he said he couldn't see anything. Effect of words. After some days, Mr. Gupta received a postcard from Maggie. She requested Mr. Gupta to visit her as her mother was very ill. He visited Maggie's house and tried to console her. Maggie requested Mr. Gupta to say a lie that her brother was alive and fine by gazing at the ring. She believed that this would help her mother to recover. Mr. Gupta accepted her request and said so. Mrs. Clifford slowly recovered after hearing this. A month later, Mr. Gupta received a postcard from Maggie informing him about Frank's death. Frank was killed by fighting on the frontiers. Mr. Gupta felt ashamed to face them, and so he wrote a letter expressing his grief. Joy of sacrifice is priceless. On the day of his departure to India, Maggie visited Mr. Gupta. Maggie asked him about the frontier. Mrs. Gupta realized her wish and assured that he would visit her brother's grave and would write to her. Maggie's face was filled with gratitude. She offered him a shilling and requested him to buy flowers with it and lay them on her brother's grave. Mr. Gupta felt like returning the shilling, but he reconsidered it as he knew the joy of sacrifice is priceless.